I got a glimpse of my eyes in this little sliver. And it's not how bad I looked, because I didn't think I looked bad. I didn't know. It was that I seen nothing looking back. I had no soul.
This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Because I know it's not done yet.
No, so the marriage started becoming chaotic. My mom was back in and out of my life. She was very sick. Like, her looks started fading, so she couldn't latch on to, like, guys for money and stuff anymore. Very mentally ill. Refused to get any help. Addicted to crack at this time and alcohol. And, I thought the next best thing to do would be, let's have some kids, right? Like, maybe I'll get pregnant.
If the marriage is going bad, let's just have kids.
Let's have some kids. I can't stop drinking and doing drugs. Let me just get pregnant and see how that works out.
Yeah, how did that work out for you?
So it didn't. So I remember giving birth to these kids, and I have identical twin boys, too. So I remember holding them, these little tiny, tiny babies in my hand, and looking at them in the face and saying, I will never do to you what was done to me. I love you. My life is going to be for you. Like, I was put on this earth to be a mother. Every decision I make from here on out is going to be what's best for you. And there was somewhat of a sense of normalcy for a couple years. The old foster parents were like grandparents. They were in the room when I gave birth. They were there every step of the way.
Wow,
and,
what a bunch of wonderful people.
Wonderful people.
You want to say their names on air? God, I'd love to give them credit for being such wonderful people if you're willing to. No problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Because
I would love to give them credit too, but
these people sound like saints.
Oh wait, you need to hear the best of what they've done. So I had these babies, untreated drug problem, raging drug problem. Started getting arrested, DUIs, domestic violence on the annoying husband that I had that I never really liked in the first place. Just repetitive. And, I always told myself when I knew it was a problem and I was able to identify it as drugs were my problem, that I just wasn't, like, unlucky. And I kept telling myself, one more day. I'll
quit
get
tomorrow.
better. I'll get better tomorrow. And that one more day never came, and something happened. And, I had to go to prison. And these people stepped in and took those kids.
Wait, the foster parents?
Mm-hmm.
Holy cow.
Now, I went to prison for a while, so...
How many years?
Almost, if you rack up all my extraditions, I had charges.
Shipped to this
Every
state, shipped to that state.
Shipped to this state, that county, this state, that county. It was almost 4 years.
So what'd you get hit for?
So manufacturing methamphetamine, fleeing and eluding, armed robbery, possession of a firearm.
You're not a real big Breaking Bad fan, are you?
No.
No, I don't blame you.
Although the few episodes I watched on that, it's incredibly accurate.
Really?
Yes, it's very accurate.
God, that's one of my favorite shows because watching that show, I'd never do meth. That's the one thing I got out of watching that show.
And I wasn't even into meth at the time I was making it. It was more the pain pills. It was just something
to fuel your habit?
I just thought it was cool, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I thought it was, like, cool. It was hidden. It gave me the thrill. I was really good at it. And
And making money.
And, like, you got to remember, I'm going back to my roots with my dad now. And, like, my dad made crank, but I got to a different level that he never got to with making it, and that made me proud. And I felt like I had a connection. In the meantime, my dad died from alcoholism. He was 46.
Wow.
So they took these babies. I did my prison time. I got out. When I was released, I did prison time in Florida. The state of New Jersey extradited me, which is why I'm still here. And
that's how most people stay in New Jersey.
She got a free trip up here from Florida.
Free trip. Actually, they made me pay for that.
Really?
They did.
They didn't put you on a Greyhound, did they?
No, they didn't. A little minivan with, like, shackles around my waist.
Oh, that comfortable ride. Yeah.
Oh, it was terrible.
So when I was with Sheriff Department, we used to fly them up here. We go on
Like
expeditions to Florida and fly them up.
Yeah, no, they drove me.
So how bad did it get when you got out?
So when I got out, I was expecting a parade. I was expecting this foster family to hand deliver me my children, or maybe come invite me to live with them and be a mom. And none of that happened. None of it was based, like, I didn't have a realistic expectation. I thought I did my time. I just went through this horrible experience, and I wanted to be acknowledged for that.
Plus, you detox when you go into prison.
Detox, yep. And I remember calling them and telling them I was released. And they said, we're just not comfortable with you having contact.
Now, how old were the kids at this point?
The kids had to be 7, around the age of 7.
Now, looking back on that, do you see that as a blessing that you didn't have contact or a curse?
I feel like I put them in the position to choose between enabling me or saving my kids. At the time, I felt like I was a victim and it was a curse. Looking back now, that I know they made the right choice, and I know it was incredibly hard for them to do.
That's an incredibly lucid answer to that question.
Yeah,
I had a feeling that you were going to answer it that way. It's crazy, right? You know, almost keeping you from yourself.
Yeah.
In that matter. So where did you go from when you got out?
The wonderful streets of Trenton. I felt real comfortable there. I loved it. I thought I made it, you know?
Look at me. I'm in the state capital.
How long were you on the streets for?
Probably 6 years.
So for the better part of your, probably more than half your life, you've been homeless.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you saved a lot on rent. No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a silver lining, but that's incredible that you're not an unattractive woman living on the streets of one of the toughest cities in New Jersey.
Well, you should have seen me then, you know? Like, you start off and like...
You looked like a real street junkie?
Not at first. I got out of prison, had some weight on me, felt like I looked good. But then as like your drug variations increase, your drug use increase, what you do to get them drugs. I mean, nobody's an idiot. You know what girls on the streets do to get money. Like you start off at a certain level, and then as your use and your looks decrease, the level drops. And then next thing you know, I wasn't like the people couch surfing or sleeping in like the homeless shelter. I was like the person you would step over on the curb.
Holy cow. Mm-hmm. So what?
Dirty and disheveled and
When I went to
smelly
Detox, I had to shave my head. My hair was matted. I didn't brush it or wash it for a year. They had to shave my head.
Wow.
And there's not a whole lot of showering going on.
Oh,
so
no.
Your hygiene, oh my dear Lord.
That's why
And then
that's why I shave
showering-
my head, because I don't shower all that much. So
I
just
felt like
shave
if
my
I
head.
showered, I'd sober up. I wasn't going to waste my
Wasn't gonna waste my hide.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before, but it makes perfect sense. Well, what do you do when one of your friends is super drunk? You put them in the shower, try to wake them
Yeah.
up.
I'm sure you wouldn't eat much either, right?
No, I was 82 pounds when I went to Detox. And then also there's a certain level too, like you do what you do with men for money while you're out there. But some subconscious level, like you don't want men to be attracted to you. So self-care doesn't become important. I started picking my face. And I didn't tie all that in together until later, but I think it all correlates.
Well, what when you were homeless, what drugs were you doing?
Primarily heroin and crack.
So I know that's a big thing with meth. I don't know if you've ever seen that Faces of Meth online. Yeah. And these women look one way, and then you just see the digression of it. It's really
all scabs.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah.
It's very, very
Were
sad.
you all scabbed up and everything too?
Yeah. I mean, I went in this psychosis and dug my muscle out of my leg one time. The side of my leg. I tell people now I got bit by a shark because I feel like it makes me look tough.
That sounds cool. That sounds much cooler than that. Yeah.
That's a better stick with that.
Yeah.
That's a better story.
But coming where you are now, I don't know whether that's the shark attack's such a better way to go.
Well, it depends on the audience.
Yeah.
You know?
There's no sharks in Trenton.
There's plenty of sharks. It's just not the ones in the water.
Yeah.
It just says the one in the water. But it's amazing that, looking the way trying to make yourself look unattractive, and men still do what men do in those areas. Isn't that? God damn. I don't know. It's a very foreign world to me.
Now, what year was this?
2011. Maybe I was out there longer than I thought. 2011 to me. I finally got sober in 2018.
So was the weed man down there back then?
Yeah.
In Trenton?
Well, believe it or not, I see the weed man by my neighborhood all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. He goes to that bagel store that we used to go to.
He used to have a store down there.
Yeah.
And it was the weed man. The weed man's joint was the
Yep.
name of it.
It's all over the side of his car.
Yeah.
But weed wasn't what you were doing. And what changed? What snapped you out of it? Because you don't go where you've been and then one day say, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm over.
I'm done.
So I did have infrequent contact, lost complete contact with my sister. All the years I was out there, she thought I was dead. She did not know where I was, no communication. I did have infrequent contact with my mother. And she ended up, while I was in the depths of the worst I went, she committed suicide. And I would like to say that's when I got sober. And like the way she did it was very enlightening to me. She like slit her wrist, took a bunch of pills, changed her mind, went to try to go walk out and get help, and she fell down and aspirated on her own vomit. And that's not so much that got me sober, but that was the last contact I had with another human being that knew where I was and what I was doing out there. So I just remember being in like this abandoned house one day, trying to do what I do in my neck by candlelight and a little sliver of a mirror. And
That's where you would shoot in your neck?
in my neck.
Yeah.
And I got a glimpse of my eyes in this little sliver. And it's not how bad I looked, because I didn't think I looked bad. I didn't know. It was that I seen nothing looking back. I had no soul, no purpose, no nothing.
Looking right through yourself.
Looking right through yourself. And I realized that if I were to die out there, there'd be nobody to even claim my body. Nobody would even know I was missing. Nobody knew where I was, what I was doing for many, many years. I was written off for dead a long time ago.
Like you said, your sister thought you were dead anyway, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's got to be a weird feeling. Just you're faceless, you're nameless, you're soulless.
Jane Doe.
Yep. Very lonely feeling, but that's almost what I was seeking out there. I was taught and preconditioned, like through my childhood, don't stand out. Don't let nobody see you. You have to remain invisible. Like you have to. And then there was this nonprofit, and they used to go around and like help you get into treatment. And this one founder is called Heroin Kills New Jersey, and I was in contact with him for years, and like he would drive up and down the streets, and he would see me, and I would be like, oh, I'll call you tomorrow, I'm good. And like he knew, he never confronted me on anything I was doing. It's a faith-based organization, and I thought these people were just trying to earn their way into heaven at the expense of my soul. And then one day, like I don't remember why, how, or when. I mean, I had plenty of stuff to feel well, and usually that's not when people reach that poor
when they
point.
run out. Yeah,
It's when they run out. I had plenty of stuff to feel well, and I just couldn't take it anymore. And I remembered their phone number, and I called them, and they were there within 15 minutes to pick me up and take me to Detox. And I go to Detox. I don't know how to live. I didn't really like withdraw too many times. Like I was able to like stay doing what I was doing, and no idea what the future would look like. No family, still not in contact with anybody. Didn't know any phone numbers. Didn't know anything.
you had to relearn everything.
Everything. And these people showed up and they visited me every visitation day. Every visitation day, they found a halfway house, put me through a halfway house, came on family day. Like, I still have the towels. This lady, Diane, who is like my mother now, like, I just love her. And I would not be here if it wasn't for her. Always believing in me. She brought me these towels and wrote my little name on the tag, and I still have them.
Yeah.
And
That's the reminders.
The reminder of where and when.
Do you keep any other reminders of your time in the depths?
so I had things like my name tag, but when I checked in to Detox, the only thing I owned for some reason in my psychosis was this broken mop bucket. And I carried this thing around with me. I have no idea why, but like I had an attachment, and like I remember signing out and them giving me my mop bucket, and I was like, what is this? Like, is this a joke? But it was a broken mop bucket.
There were maybe something. There's something to be said. Maybe your soul was in that bucket, and you're trying to put it back in you.
Yeah.
Did you OD at all?
Oh, plenty of times. Plenty.
It's
Like,
do you understand how Stacey just said it? Did you? Oh yeah, plenty of times.
Yeah.
Sure,
like Narcan and going to the hospital and all that, or
Narcan, being taken to the hospital, waking up in the hospital, them shuffling you out of the hospital. They cut off my clothes, so I would shuffle down the street in like a hospital gown, find clothes on the side of the road, put them on. I had trouble identifying like letters and numbers when I first got sober. Like I knew what it was in my head, but I had trouble making my mouth say it. And I have to assume it was a result of so many overdoses.
I don't know about you, Mike, but I'm assuming it's the same. Narcan for police came out after I retired. Mm-hmm. But everybody tells me that when somebody gets a dose of Narcan up their nose, they wake up and they're super pissed because you took away their high.
Oh, it's the worst. It rips the opiate off the receptor sites in the brain. So not only are you not high, but you're sick. You're in full-blown withdrawal.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
But hey,
especially from heroin, they say that's the worst.
The worst.
And it, there's you're alive, but you're in a lot of pain.
You're in a lot of pain, and like doing what I did to make money, it's not like I could just go and buy more stuff. There was things that had to transpire and take place in order for me to get what I needed that were real hard to do sick. And,
I'm sure. we'll keep it at that.
So you get clean and sober. You're looking at life through these different eyes. What was the first thing when you finally got sober? What was the first thing you noticed about life?
First thing I noticed was I didn't know anything about anything, and I felt light years behind everybody else. But what I knew being in the halfway house before I was even out on my own in sober living, I knew I wanted to help other people. And I didn't know you could go to detox and like the state would pay for treatment. I always felt like rehab was for people who had families that loved them and would take them there. I didn't know that was available to me. So I would literally go out from the halfway house back to the same corner I got off of and try to get these girls help and be like, I know a way. So I knew that I had it on my heart to just help other people.
And now that's your new life.
And now that's my new life. I'm a counselor at a detox facility.
Give out the name of the detox because they're
Princeton Detox and Recovery Center.
not Princeton House.
Not Princeton House.
That's where I went to rehab. Just so I know. That's a Princeton House.
We're a little more bougie than Princeton House.
Princeton House. Well, there was nothing bougie about Princeton House. It was not my favorite place in the world, but it sobered me up because I don't do well in confined spaces.
Yeah. So that brings me to like the Guardian Recovery Network is who I work for, right?
Guardian IOP.
Guardian IOP. They have places in Florida and Colorado. They have places everywhere.
New Hampshire. See, we know. So
Wyoming, I think.
Stuart Chiricella introduced me to Stacey, and I know Stewie is really big into Guardian IOP, especially in Hoboken. He's just one of the favorite sons of Hoboken. And yeah, I couldn't be more thrilled that he introduced us because what you've gone through and where you are now, you went through hell. Like you really went through absolute hell. Some stuff. I mean,
like movie-like.
Yeah, and you're not even telling like the full dirt, like the grab of it. I know you're leaving some stuff out purposely, but damn. And now when somebody's checking account gets a little too low, well, guess what? Stacey did it. You can do it too. You can do it too. And I think that's your power. So the cool thing now is all that stuff that you went through, where you used to try to hide all that stuff from people and you never let them know what abuse you went through. Now it's your power. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And like where I work, I'm in a field, like I found my purpose through all of this. I work at a place where like I still get intimidated. Like I'm light years behind other people. And I come into this place and they see that I care. And they invest in me. They invest in my education. They invest in my future. And like I get to sit across people every day in a detox at their point of surrender. And their eyes are at their shoes and they're sick and they're detoxing. And I could share just a little bit with them. And when you see their eyes lift up off the floor, it's the most amazing.
Well, you've been there.
I've been there.
Well, I was going to say it's a been there, done that thing. I mean, it's perfect for her because, attractive woman. She's very, dresses well and everything. And you could get into those women that are on the street now and say, I was you one day. And not look at me now, but look where I am now.
Yeah.
Now, is there ever a time you're around all these people with an addiction problem? Is there ever a time where your old life starts creeping in the back of your head? And how do you fight that off?
I have never been triggered when I've been in the process of helping another person, ever.
Because that's a big problem when in any type of thing. Like even when Mike and I help, say, an officer in shooting, there's certain things in there that do get me.
I mean, I feel like I've been very lucky with all of that. Like when I decided to get sober, I was like, okay, so we're doing this now. So I started therapy. I started exploring my mental, physical, emotional, spiritual growth. It's a daily thing. I'm active in AA. I go to AA. I've worked the 12 steps. And like it's stuff that I have to do every day to be okay. But I know to do them. And I've seen way too many times of people going back. And now it's almost like I've built this life, right? I have a career.
You don't want to ruin it.
I mean, I'll give you a quick rundown of my felonies. You know what I mean? I have a career with a company that respects me and invests in me. And like they share the same goal when it comes to like client care as I have. I have a husband. The first honest relationship. He taught me how to love and allow myself to be loved unconditionally.
What was that I'm assuming your husband knows all of this. If he doesn't, he will now.
He'll know in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. So what was that conversation like with this man that enters your life? Probably mistrustful because your relationships with men probably haven't been really upstanding. What was that like when you first let this go with him?
So he never pushed me. He never questioned me. I met him in AA.
I was going to say, was he from the same lifestyle?
So like he would hear me tell my story, like he knows what it is, but we never discussed things privately until I was ready. And he never pushed me. And I mean, the hard part is I still have an instinct to cut and run. So like I've been hyper vigilant. Oh, what do you mean you drank my water? You don't respect me. Like, and he's a very patient man, thank goodness. And, he just honors my process and he lets me do what I need to do. But he's also like one of the few people, kind of rough around the edges with my people skills because of how I grown up. He's one of the people that could come to me and tell me like, you're getting a little out of control with your tone.
Watch yourself.
Yeah, watch yourself. And I'll listen.
Now, give the name of of your network, please, again, because they do some wonderful work, and I want to give them all the props that we can give them. So why don't you give out some plugs?
Guardian Recovery Network. They have, in my opinion, the best detox in New Jersey, Princeton Detox and Recovery Center. Excellent family support every step of the way. The family is included in the process. Our goal, nobody leaves our facility without an aftercare plan in place. We start day one, point of intake, planning their aftercare. We don't just say, oh, you know what? Like, you want to go home? Go home. Like, we do our very best to support the family all along the way and the client and refer them out and, like, find a facility for them to transfer to that will meet their needs accordingly, whatever that looks like.
So, Stacey, we're coming to the end here.
Mm-hmm.
I can't. Some of the stuff that you talked about has scared the shit out of me, but it's also inspired me, and that's kind of the concept of our show. It's darkness can inspire, especially when you start seeing the light. Of all the suffering that you've gone through, what do you think it's taught you?
So nothing is given in this world, but there's a lesson in everything, and pain can be beautiful too. Pain is absolutely beautiful. I'm like attached to my pain somewhat because I think that's what makes me effective at my job, but I also think that pain is what makes me grateful every day.
It makes you who you are today.
It makes me who I am today.
One quick question, and I don't want to prolong this, but your sons and the former foster parents, do you have a relationship with them?
So one of them found me last year, and just a quick message on Facebook said, I don't really want to know what happened. I just want to know who you are. And I went down and, I got to meet this kid. And, like, I didn't know. In my head, it's this little tiny boy. And, like, this man walks in the room. But it was the most familiar stranger I've ever seen. He had a calic in the same spot and a mole in the same spot. And I didn't question why, he was the only one ready. And then a few months later, I reached out to the foster mom and asked if I could take her to lunch. And I drove back down to Florida and took her to lunch. And all these years, she thought that I was mad at her. And we just hugged and we cried. And she said she was sorry. And I said, I'm sorry. But, like, look, life's not a Lifetime movie. So it's not like this big reunification or any of that. Like, I text her. I stay in as much communication as I can. But those are her kids for every intent and purpose. Yeah. And I would never want to overstep any boundaries that they're not comfortable. She never asked me for a dime. They never asked me. They knew I wasn't in a position to pay, but I'm just very grateful for what they did. You did give so you did fulfill your promise to those little babies. Mm-hmm. You did give them what you didn't have, which is a home. Mm-hmm. Right. Stacey, thank you so much for coming in and bearing your soul in this one. This is a little rough. That's rough. This is a little rough. That's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast. And as always, let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Children only know love, not addiction. Generational curses are real. It's amazing what you can get used to. We all live by our examples. Pain can sometimes be beautiful, but most importantly, and I want to say most importantly, out of the chaos comes Staci Ellis. Yeah. Thank you. That's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget you can listen every week before you watch. All of our audio episodes come out on Sunday.
Don't forget to go to 3 Acres Luxury Condominiums in Jersey City. Go to 3acresjc.com. And also, if you like your own digital business card, go to popple.com, put in TSP20 for a nice 20% discount. Of course, follow us on all social media, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, for sure I'm to Twitter. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. And we're going to see you on the next episode.